What? Wow, dude, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is a freaking ride. Now, it definitely doesn't have as many ups and downs and twists and turns and plot twists and betrayals, and it's not as much of a wild ride as the original Final Fantasy VII is, or even the Final Fantasy VII Remake with the neat twists and turns that they added in. But what makes Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion so special is how much more it adds to Final Fantasy VII. Is how much more it adds to the original Final Fantasy VII. I cannot imagine the ridiculous amount of hype I would have felt if I would have played the original Final Fantasy VII and then a couple years later on the PSP had played Final Fantasy Crisis Core. I would have lost it, dude. The upgrade from Final Fantasy VII to Crisis Core is ridiculous. What I ended up doing was playing through the original Final Fantasy VII and then instantly jumping into Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. And now, while I tend to be the kind of guy who likes to play the originals first and then play the remasters and the remake, I feel like I could make a little bit of an exception here for Crisis Core, just because it's one thing when you have a remake that's as substantially different like Final Fantasy VII Original to Final Fantasy VII Remake, or Resident Evil 4 compared to the Resident Evil 4 remake. Those are some major game changers, so much to the point that most people would even consider them to be slightly different game or majorly different games. As far as I understand, Crisis Core and Crisis Core Reunion are the exact same game. Just listen to me when it comes to the story. Yes, the gameplay is better and enhanced. There's a good amount of quality of life improvements, and it looks absolutely stunning. If you're playing on a PS5, maybe not if you're playing it on a Switch. But that is why I chose to play Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion rather than going back and playing the PSP game, which I do own, by the way. Here it is, right here. The original Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core experience on the PSP, bro. Look, with the little manual and everything. That is so crazy, dude. I ended up buying this game and my PSP when I started this Final Fantasy journey. If you go back into my older videos, you'll find where I decided, the video where I said I was going to start playing all these Final Fantasy games, that's when I bought the PSP, and that's when I bought this game. Little did I know that a year later they would end up not just announcing Crisis Core Remake, but releasing it very shortly after. And I was so close to finishing Final Fantasy VII before Final Fantasy Reunion came out, but I wasn't quite close enough. And honestly, like I said, because they didn't make any substantial changes to the story, I figured, why not? I'm gonna play Crisis Core Reunion rather than the original Crisis Core, because it seems to have some major improvements when it comes to quality of life updates, but it doesn't change or mess with the overall story. When I beat Final Fantasy VII, I contemplated, I was kind of in the middle between playing Crisis Core and just jumping into the remake. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I saw a couple videos on, I said, why not just play the prequel? You know, I feel like it'll enhance my experience even more when playing the remake, and it'll be a good intro into what Final Fantasy VII Remake might be like, without giving me the full experience, because man, Crisis Core Reunion is super different gameplay-wise comparing it to Final Fantasy VII Remake. And yes, I can say that now, because since I already beat Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, I've already started Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they are very different when it comes to the way the game plays. Specifically when it comes to the DMW and the level up system, not so much when it comes to picking different materia to level up, or the way that the combat feels in terms of it being an action RPG. It's pretty similar in that regard. So let's just jump into it. Let's talk about a little bit about the gameplay, right? Extremely fun, very fast paced. Well, I thought it would be a little bit boring and annoying that every time I go into a battle, I just kind of am locked into this one little circular region where I can just run around in circles and fight the enemies, and if I leave a little bit of the circle, I don't, you know, kind of like the Tales games, right? It's just basically a random encounter, except here you can kind of avoid them by just running against the wall, the edge of any level that you want in Crisis Core. Which, as someone who got the Platinum Trophy for this game, I ended up doing a lot, especially when doing the absolute endless grind that is all these side quests in this game. So again, gameplay, fun. The action, fun. The enemies, cool. We're gonna talk about two very big things when it comes to the gameplay in this game, which is, one is the DMW, that little slot machine thing that you see constantly going in the corner of this game, and how that impacts Zack and the way that he levels up and his materia. This was both something that I actively hated at multiple times throughout the game, and I actively very much enjoyed it multiple times throughout the game. In Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, while there is still the basic idea of you kill enemies, you get experience, and if you get enough experience, you level up, there's an added little barrier when it comes to leveling up. See what I did there? My real Final Fantasy fans? gosh. While yes, you have to get a certain amount of experience to level up in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, not just that, you also have to get lucky enough, and those numbers that are constantly spinning at the top corner of your screen have to hit 7-7 with at least 2 of the characters being the exact same on your little reels. And you have no control over what's gonna pop up there, especially at the beginning. Those numbers are just rolling, and if you want to level up your materia or level up something that you have equipped, you have to hope that you get 2 of the same numbers just pop up randomly through luck, and that the characters that pop up with those matching numbers are the same characters. That is the only way to level up materia in this game. While going into it, my brother started this game first. He said he found it really annoying. I was like, who knows, it might be kind of exciting. And for the first couple of hours, I felt like I was fine. There's this little bit of a level cap thing where, like, if you get enough experience after a certain point, you kind of trigger and force trigger that level up for the 777 to pop. So it's not really luck at that point. And I think that happened to me a lot at the beginning of the game because I didn't really find myself struggling to level up. I felt like those level ups are coming in quick. The further I progressed into the game, the more that I grinded, the more I noticed, holy crap, it is taking me ages to level up. While yes, there's a chance that it also just kind of connects to the fact that, hey, maybe I was just getting less experience, or maybe it was just costing me more experience to level up, and that's why it was taking me longer to get those level ups. Since there was always that factor in the back of my head of me knowing, like, you level up randomly in this game, and like there's no way to really check how close you are to reaching that level cap to level up, that's when I kind of started to find it really annoying. And especially when it came to the materia in this game, I had no control over what materia I would have in my different slots and which one would level up. The fact that a lot of your level ups when it comes to your materia and your character are directly correlated with RNG kind of sucks. It wasn't really something that bothered me too much when it comes to talking about my overall experience about the game, but in hindsight, I do really miss just having an RPG where I know when I'm gonna level up, I know how close I am to it, and I know that all my grinding is going to pay off, and I know right around when. So even though while I was playing the game, I didn't feel like it took away too much, I didn't really enjoy this feature too much. Ways in which I think the DMW is awesome. If you do happen to get the really cool Moogle summon that randomly shows up and is really rare to show up, but when it does show up, it levels up all your materia that you have equipped, either by a couple of levels or fully masters all of them. Like, that's super exciting when you get that, and that is thanks to it being RNG. So there's times where it kind of works. The fact that a lot of your super cool moves that you can use, whether they be summons or any kind of move that involves another character, cool little cutscene plays out and you do a lot more damage to the enemies when you use that special move. But just remember, the only way to have these special moves pop up, it's through luck and through the DMW and whatever the heck it's doing on its own. I have no control as to when I'm gonna be able to use it, how strong it's gonna be, and if I'm gonna get it when I want it. So cool, but you can't really rely on it too much when it comes to actually trying to be strategic with the game. So that pretty much covers the whole gameplay part. This is a really, really short game, bro. I ended up playing this game anywhere between, I think it took me about 25-ish hours to 100% complete this game. That's not long. That's not long at all, especially for an RPG, a Final Fantasy game. And I want to say it was really an enjoyable experience. It was, and I might even make a video on me playing this game later on. But something that I can't really ignore is that it is an extremely grindy game when it comes to all of the different side quests you can do in this game. There are so many side quests in the game, and if you just focus on playing the main story in this game, you're gonna blast through this game in probably what feels like less than 10 hours. Don't even get me started if you actually skip all the cutscenes. Is it a hard game? Not really. I mean, if you pick like normal difficulty or easy difficulty, it's pretty chill. If you pick hard difficulty, it's not really hard. It just makes it so that when you're in the later chapters like 7 and 8, all the enemies, especially the bosses, just become absolute bullet sponges. I don't know why I said bullets. You don't really use bullets as Zack in this game, but you know what I mean. And hey, I mean, I'm not saying it not being a hard game doesn't make it any more fun. I still love the crap out of this game, but I'm just throwing that in there, right? Same thing with it being short. I don't think that it's a bad thing that it's short. The only reason why it would be bad is because I had a great time. Sometimes you can find that really good mix in saying, I love the story and the gameplay, and that's what makes it an amazing game. This one falls in that category for me. That is why maybe I wish it was a little bit longer, but don't you worry. If you actually take the time to just spend all the time you want grinding out all those side quests, it'll feel like a really long game. And I wish I could say that a lot of the side quests are like really cool and special and different, but I think that's the difference, right? Like, you'll have a way better time just focusing on the main story. Some of these side quests are kind of cool and a little bit different. I don't know, there's some that are kind of cool, but compared to all of the freaking side quests that you have, the sum is such a small amount that I don't really think it's super worth writing home about. But if you do want a challenge, this is your way to get it. Start knocking out all these side quests, because this is how you're gonna unlock some of the toughest bosses in this game. And yes, not just can they be spongy, but they're actually hard to defeat, especially if you don't really have your loadouts, you know, properly well done and set up. So I think if you would have just focused on the main story with balancing in a little bit of the side quests, unless you're really having a good time with them, I still think this is an absolutely excellent game, dude. Amazing, amazing game. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I would have played on the PSP, but holy crap, dude, this remake is amazing. So yeah, absolutely loved Crisis Core, dude. The gameplay was awesome. Again, because even though some of the side quests weren't like, whoa, this is so cool, because the gameplay was so fun, even again, I have no control of my level ups, I just had a great time slashing and whacking as Zack, who is now probably one of, if not my favorite Final Fantasy character of all time. I'm not trying to offend my boy Titus, bro. I'm not trying to offend, but like, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. Okay, let's talk about what really matters here, which I think is the story. Okay. I love the story. I absolutely love the story. I'm gonna try and say this with the least amount of spoilers as possible. So, the Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core experience, it basically highlights a lot of the things that you learn about in Final Fantasy VII, the original game, and maybe a little bit of the remake, but mostly you have to play the original game to know what the heck is kind of happening in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. And it adds so much to it, bro. It adds so much to it. I want to say it's like a little side story that just really boosts the game, but it's an amazing side piece that just completely skyrockets Final Fantasy VII into what it is today. If you're a fan of the Final Fantasy VII original story, you have to play this game. You have to play this game. And the cool thing is you'll already kind of know what's going on. Is it worth playing this game if you haven't played neither the original nor the remake? Yeah, I'll say the same thing that I said with Final Fantasy VII, the original game. I think you'll get, I believe this. I think you'll get way more enjoyment out of the game if you play the original first and then this one. But I think you'll probably be fine by playing this one and then playing the remake or the original. You're just gonna be really confused probably when starting the remake or when playing the original. You're not gonna have any clue what's going on, so you can do it. But my advice would be either play the original first. Play the original, then play this, then play the remake. That's the way I'm going about it, and I freaking love it. This game, kind of like the remake, is just so reliant on you already kind of having the context and knowing what the story is about to elevate it so much more. Again, you can be watching it, you can be questioning it, you can be trying to guess what's going on, but it's so much cooler and so much more rewarding when you already have all the knowledge as to what is kind of going on, that when you actually learn and they say certain names and they explain certain parts of the story, you're like, oh, that is this and this is that. You kind of get what I'm saying? The story's amazing though. You're gonna fall in love with Zack as a character, and I think this Final Fantasy VII story is just absolutely slaps. Like you have to play it. You have to play it if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Now we can get into the spoiler talk. This is my favorite parts when it comes to these videos, because I can just let loose. So again, if you haven't played this game and you're planning on it, leave right now, because I'm about to talk about Zack and some of the other main characters in this game and why I love this game so much. Well, first of all, Zack is awesome. Like if you already played the original, you already know who Zack is. You already know what's going to happen to Zack. And I think that's the craziest part. I was talking about this with my cousin for a little bit and some of my friends, but it's just like, you know what's gonna happen to Zack. And even though you know what is going to happen to Zack, somehow, bro, at the very end of the game, when Zack dies, the way that they show it, the way that they show the cutscenes with Aerith, and the way that they show him just talking and thinking about his friends and all the connections that he made and all the things that he did for Cloud and for everyone, and it was just like, bro, the entire game you learn that Zack's purpose, like, he just wants to be a hero, bro. He just wants to be a hero. And the very last line when he dies and he's just like, so did I become a hero or something like that? He said something like that, bro. I was like, no! Like, I was fine up until that moment, bro. Teary-eyed, bro. Teary-eyed. I was like, no, don't, no. They make you feel that death so bad, bro. Zack is such an amazing character. Again, I tend to be a little bit more on the peppier, high energetic side, right? So while I think Cloud is a very cool character, don't don't get me wrong, I like Zack 10,000 times more, which is way better because I just think I connect with him more when it comes to personality and energy and motivation and positivity and all that. So that's why I think Zack is so awesome. And even though I already knew what was gonna happen to Zack, I still felt it so hard, bro, when he actually died. I was like, no way, bro. That ending was so fire, dude. So fire. I think Zack is an amazing character. Oh my gosh, the thing that they do halfway through the game after Angeal dies, which is another character we're gonna talk about, but like Angeal dies and I think like 2 years go by and like he starts to wear his hair differently, and like at first I wasn't like too into it, but the more that you play the game and he gets that really cool scar, it all just makes sense. Everything adds up so much better, and it made me really like both versions of Zack, the younger version and then the first class soldier Zack. Like it was just so cool, dude. It was like a slight thing, the whole hair thing, but it was so significant, bro. And not just that, bro, I'm even gonna consider it like a character, but like, dude, the Buster Sword. Getting to learn the importance of the Buster Sword. It's not just any sword, bro. And playing this game makes it so that when I play the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I've already started, there's just so much more honor and value in that sword than there was before. Or like when I watched the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie, seeing the Buster Sword, you know, like placed where Zack died, and just knowing the significance of that sword and the legacy behind it and how it connects to Angeal and just everything, bro, like it really just made it so much more special. Like thanks to this game, I'm like, the Buster Sword is so cool, dude. And it's cool how a game could make me want to talk about the sword as if it was its own character. So yeah, Zack, amazing character. The Buster Sword is so much more cool now because of this game. Then we have Angeal, anyways. So Zack's mentor, right? Zack's mentor and one of the experiments that went wrong, right? The more successful experiment. I thought he was really cool. You know, again, while he might not have been a very unique, like, oh, I'm not gonna act like I've never seen a mentor like that before in games and stories, whatnot, but I still thought Angeal was so dope. When he died, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I kind of feel it. But then just seeing how much it affected Zack, that's what got to me. And that, again, that kind of leads into that change that he had with the little time jump there. That was so freaking cool, man. That was so freaking cool. So Angeal is a dope character. And again, it just adds even more significance to the Buster Sword. You know, once being Angeal, him never using it, him receiving it from his dad, and, you know, just all that stuff, man. And getting passed down to Zack and then later Cloud is so cool, bro. It's so cool. Sephiroth, bro. Okay, if when I played the original FF7, I already started to feel a little bit bad for Sephiroth, because I was kind of like, you know, Sephiroth isn't necessarily Frankenstein. He's Frankenstein's monster, and the real villain here is Dr. Frankenstein, or Hojo, the person who created Sephiroth. This game made me feel it so much more, bro. I feel like you can really see the human aspect to Sephiroth. He's just a soldier, bro, raised in this world where he's really strong, and he was just kind of pushed, formed, and molded into being this soldier. Specifically, it was the bond with Sephiroth, Genesis, and Angeal that made me be like, bro, Sephiroth's dope. Like, he was just, I feel bad for him, man. Like, especially when, like, he hurt Genesis, and he was trying to do like a blood transfusion for him and all that. Like, I don't know, like, you feel it. Or like the way that Sephiroth kind of refused to go on certain missions because it involved Genesis and Angeal. It's like, dude, Sephiroth is like a monster, but he's like human, bro. So like after this game, if I thought I was starting to feel a little bit more sympathy for him before, oh my gosh, I feel it so much more, bro. It really made me like Sephiroth more of a character. Just again, seeing that more human aspect to him, you know, kind of gives me a little bit of hope that maybe he could have been good. He was good in a way, maybe. Tifa was one of those characters, like, she wasn't in there much. I already knew what was gonna happen. But it was a treat seeing her. You know, it was great getting to see her. For me, for the first time, remember, like, from playing the original, this was really the first time getting to see a lot of these characters in, like, their HD models. Like, the first time I saw Cloud, I was like, whoa. But, yeah, getting to see Tifa was a treat. Don't really have too much more to say on Tifa, but it was a nice treat to have her in the game. I know we're kind of going out of order here, but let's talk about Cloud. Again, I already knew the story and what Cloud was and where it was all headed, but I was so surprised by how different Cloud was portrayed in this game. You know, like, he really is huge when you see the start of Final Fantasy VII, both the remake and the original, just how much of a cool guy he is and kind of an a-hole he is. And how in this one he's not, dude. He's a little bit more fragile. Like still, again, not super peppy and energetic, but way more humble and a lot more scared and afraid and just all that cocky, false arrogance that he has in Final Fantasy VII. It's really cool to see a more humble version of him here. I really like the Cloud that I saw in this game. You know, like just like the young cadet trying to learn from these mentors. And while I feel like I saw a little bit more of that at the end of the original Final Fantasy VII game, I'm really hoping that in the remakes, especially when we get into like the later parts of the trilogy for the remakes, we get to see that version of Cloud, the real Cloud, the nicer, less a-holy, more humble Cloud. Cause that so far has been my favorite version of Cloud. It was cool, dude. Actually getting to see Cloud smile and laugh was insane to me. But it was a version of Cloud that I really enjoyed. So Aerith, bro. Again, like I felt her death in Final Fantasy VII, like the OG, bro. And I'm sure when I play the remake, I'm going to feel even more attached to Aerith. But her relationship with Zack in this game is absolutely beautiful, and it is one of the top romances for me in any video game that I've ever played. And right after Angeal dies and Zack is there with Aerith, and she just kind of like, Zack's just sitting in the corner like crying at the church, and she just kind of like goes behind him and hugs him. It's like, you feel that, man. Like you feel their bond. Like when Zack is trying to help her with the carts, building the different carts and just trying to sell flowers, and I can't remember just seeing how passionate Zack was about selling these flowers and this not being a joke to him, because it's like, no, I'm doing this for Aerith, this is our thing, and like it's because of, you really get to see how much he cares about her. Like that was also super sweet, super special, and like, oh my gosh, all the torture that you feel when Aerith is just trying to reach out to Zack, but he's busy on these missions, and like, oh, especially at the very end when you found out that she wrote like 80-something, 90-something letters to Zack while he was like gone, lost in that state of being in the freaking mansion or whatever. You feel all of that, and man, it's so cool the way that they developed their relationship with Zack and Aerith. And I repeat, I said this in my Final Fantasy VII video, after playing Final Fantasy VII, the original game, I was like, no doubt about it, Cloud is meant to end up with Tifa, and Aerith is meant to end up with Zack. After playing this game, I am so much more like sure of that, and that's not gonna change. Aerith and Zack are the perfect match, and my goodness gracious, one of my favorite Final Fantasy VII couples right here, bro. Like, I really felt it. I wasn't expecting to, and I feel like there weren't that many cutscenes with them together, but the few that there were, and even the intro one, like they're all just so strong. They're such strong scenes that really solidify the relationship for me. So, loved it. I kept waiting for me to really enjoy Genesis as a villain and as a character. While I still think he's kind of cool, I also think he's really quirky and really kind of weird, and you know, the whole thing with him talking in like this poetic way, like, you know, I don't know, like, I think he's cool. I think he looks really cool. He fights really cool. I found him sometimes speaking about Loveless and all poetic, like, kind of annoying, and it kind of got old for me pretty soon. So I don't know. I kept waiting to really like Genesis, but he's there, you know. He's obviously a huge villain in this game, the main villain. So that's all I really have to say about Genesis. Don't really want to hate on him too much, because it's not like I didn't hate him, but it just wasn't my favorite. The little bits that I got to see here of Hojo was really cool, because again, he doesn't play like, he doesn't get as much screen time as some of the other like Hollander or Genesis, but he's there. And the times I saw him, I was like, that's the one, that's the real villain of this game, there he is. I also, again, I don't have too much to say about Hollander, you know, because again, like, I get it, important role and all, but I found myself kind of being like, eh. I thought it was kind of funny when you fight him. It feels like a little bit of a joke fight, but still cool that they included that. So I was excited to see Yuffie in this game, and when she appeared the very first time, I was like, yo, let's go. I hope she becomes like a big part of this game or something. No, they kind of gypped us with that. She just kind of becomes a series of side quests where you kind of do random little like copy paste side quests where you just go and find treasure, kill some enemies along the way, and at the end she comes up to try and steal the treasure and ends up leaving crying after she gets found out. You're gonna hear your Yuffie cry a lot. Well, I wish they would have done more with having Yuffie in this game. I'm happy with what I got, honestly. Just getting to see Yuffie a little bit more was cool. And while I did find her a little bit annoying at times as a kid, I also by the end grew to really kind of care for her and be like, nah, she's cute, she's cool. and I want to look out for her. So good job to this game for making me feel that way about Yuffie. I'm gonna kind of group up all the Turks here together. I know I probably shouldn't, because like Cisne and was it Sang had like way bigger roles than the other Turks, but and I really liked the two of them, by the way. They were awesome. I just want to talk about the Turks as a whole because I'm really glad that Cisne and Sang or whatever got more of an important role in this game. It just made me appreciate all the Turks as a whole. I know Reno and Rude get a little bit of a more important role in Advent Children movie. And I know when I play the remake, I'm gonna get to see a little bit more of them, but it was just cool getting to get more of a vibe as to who the Turks are and whether they're really evil or not. So it was great. It was just great. I really enjoyed them in this game too. The music in this game, bro, I ended up loving the soundtrack in this game. Like that theme, bro, Zack's sorry. I love the theme in this game, and it was a great game, bro. It was a great game. It looks gorgeous. I think you should definitely play the remake. Don't worry too much about the PSP version. Wow. I think that's all I have to say about this game. I wasn't expecting this video to be this long. I wasn't expecting to talk about this game as much as I did, but I really like this game. I really like this game. And I already started the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and holy crap. It might be too soon to say, but I already like Final Fantasy VII more than this one, and I really like this game. I really like this game. So, then again, like, I think part of it is that Crisis Core has made me appreciate the Final Fantasy VII World way more, and maybe that's why I'm enjoying Final VII Remake even more than I would have if I wouldn't play Crisis Core. All I'm trying to say here is like, dang, wow, holy smokes, dude, I get it. Zack is awesome. The relationship with Aerith is amazing. I learned more about Sephiroth. You get to see that scene that you got to see in FF7, but in the original, but actually in HD with Cloud getting stabbed and kind of killing Sephiroth. Very important game in the overall Final Fantasy VII story, and I'm extremely interested as to what they're gonna do or change with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Zack maybe coming back or something. I might make a video on that. I want to watch some other videos talking about it too before I make my own little theories and predictions here. But this game is awesome, and if you have any theories, predictions, or whatever the heck, please put them down in the comments. Tell me what you think about the game too, because holy crap, this was awesome. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, Wolfpack. Don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe to one of the most amazing YouTube families out here. And on that note, I love you, Wolfpack, and I will see you all next time. Peace!